dating. Let me ask you this: do you desire marriage?
If I died tomorrow and I wasn't a wife, it wouldn't bother me.
No, because you'd be dead.
Damn.
Yeah.
So when people
Exactly.
say stuff like that,
No, but let me tell you why.
of course they're gonna
Because
bother you dead.
no, because there's some people that are like, if I don't get married, I would. It's the biggest
None of that
regret.
matters once you die.
No, but you got to hear me out because I felt like becoming who I was born to be. So let me talk about my. People always say engagements don't count, and my engagement changed my life, and it
Okay.
helped me understand me because I feel like most women we're sold the Cinderella story of marriage, right? So when I was young, I was sold the Cinderella story, like, oh, you meet somebody, Prince Charming. So I did what we recommend girls do. I went to college. I went to Hampton University, got into a relationship. After college, we got engaged. And I remember, it's so funny. My mother, everybody was happy. My daddy said to me, he was like, you are not ready to be anybody's wife. My dad knew. He said, you are so ambitious that you're going to have to give up everything of who you really are to be this man's wife. And I remember
Because that's what marriage is. You guys become one. But usually the man is usually has a plan for you guys. So you may have to follow the guy's plan. So maybe he wasn't making much money or whatever it is, clearly he wasn't good enough for you to join his plan and to become one. So your dad was right.
being so mad at my dad because I was like, I don't think you would be happy, right? But he knew me. So one thing I loved about my engagement is that me and my ex-fiance, we took it serious. And we were like, if we get married, it's me and you until Jesus.
Yep.
Like no matter what, if we do this, we end this. And having that pact in the beginning caused us both to really take this as a serious thing. What we learned was we had a real love for each other, but we had different life plans. And somebody was going to have to give up their life plan in order for the family to work. Now, at this time, I'm young. I'm in my 20s. I'm starting off in radio. I'm a graduate from Hampton University, but my first radio job, I made $7 an hour. And I'll never forget, I got a full-time job in Buffalo, New York, and they wanted me to sign a 3-year contract. I wouldn't sign the contract. So they said, okay, well, we're going to just let you go. It was December 20th. 5 days later, I didn't know, but my boyfriend then was planning to propose. And he proposed on Christmas Day. So I got fired, and then I got engaged on Christmas Day. So I didn't have a job, so I ended up moving with him. This is how my Chicago run began because he was an electrical engineer living in Illinois. So I ended up moving to Illinois. So we had spent a year long distance while I was working in Buffalo. So the first 2 weeks was amazing, right? Because it's like, okay, we're here. It's like honeymoon time. After that 2 weeks, he's going to work every day. I have no financial issues. Like he has a reliable career, probably still has that job with that company at a higher level now. I moved in with him, so it was no extra bills. All I had to do was just get married and pop out some babies. And I said, this is not
Damn.
my life. This is not what God birthed me to become. And
Wow. If that's not what God made put you on earth to become, then he would never have made you meet such a good guy that you claim he was. But this also goes back to, because I don't know if her parents are married, because she talked about her dad so much she didn't mention her mom. So clearly if she didn't see the marriage or the dad being married, there is no way it was going to transform into her life. And even her dad told her she was too ambitious to be married. So that obviously didn't help the situation, but that's because the dad didn't raise her to be married. Because let's face it, guys, so many of us have come from single parent households and we don't know, we didn't see what marriage is. Some of you are from divorced houses. Even that has an impact on your psychic because you're thinking marriage that isn't that important. If the people who brought me into this earth couldn't work it out and stay together, why should I get married? So if you meet someone who's good, eventually you're gonna sabotage that. And someone said, I think it was Anton Daniels, that most women, actually he said, not the exact words, but he said most women have met the man they were supposed to be married to and they let him go.
I knew I wasn't a housewife. I was like, I would not be happy as just somebody's wife.
Damn.
And having their kids. Like there's just so much inside of me. And I decided I'm going to pursue this career that
Damn.
has no guarantee. Like
Feminism.
literally, radio is probably one of the most unreliable careers you can bet on.
Yeah, I heard.
But it was like I had to bet on me. And for a long time, I remember I used to think like, I used to be like, I chose my career over love.
You did.
The truth of the matter is, I didn't choose my career over love. I chose who I am. Like this.
No. She's trying to use so many words to make herself feel better. You know, so many times we do things, and then after some time down the road, we realize whatever we did, whatever choices we did, they were not the right ones, right? So we come up with all excuses to play victim, or so many excuses to make us feel better about the wrong decisions we did. Because there are so many career women who are married and they have kids. So are you saying they did the wrong thing and you the one who chose to choose your career over marriage, you did the right thing? You feel me? So if we have examples of ladies who are actually in their careers who have managed to be married and raise kids at the same time, how come you couldn't do it? And you claim he was a good man, so which means he was willing to understand where you, or maybe even work things out with you to see, you know, what you can do in forms of career. Because clearly the whole radio thing is not what you do currently. Currently you do content creation on YouTube. You feel me? But this just goes to show, man, she's a big influence. So imagine all the young ladies who are listening to her and currently they have good guys. They're gonna think, you know what, this is not for me, let me leave and be like Kendra and pursue my career.
This is who I am, whether I was making $1 off it or not. This is who Kendra is.
So why you say it had to be a choice though?
Exactly.
What changed? What
Well,
made it not work?
So what happened? Okay, I'm in radio. I ended up getting a job in Philly.
All right, you had
So
to
I
relocate.
I got fired from this job in Chicago. So now I had to relocate to Philly. And we were already kind of rocky because we were discovering, like, at that time he was ready to like have children and get married, like, because he didn't want to be an old father, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm not having your child until we get married. And so we were learning, like, okay, we don't really have the same alignment for life goals. And I knew if I took the job in Philly, it was a wrap. There was no way we were going to be able to survive another long distance relationship. And that's what happened. And I moved to Philly and our relationship did not survive.
How long y'all together from the day that y'all committed?
We were in college. So we started in college. And then I want to say we met probably like my sophomore year in college. You know, it's one of those, you together, then you're not together.
Yeah.
Then after, our engagement was like 3 years. Once we got engaged, it was like a 3-year process. So by this time, we really are just, because the thing is, he wasn't a bad guy and there wasn't like infidelity. It's different when you learn that, oh, I really love you, but we're just not on the same life plan.
Yes.
That's it's easy to leave a person if they cheat on you,
Yep.
if they're disrespectful. But when the love is real, but the life assignment isn't aligned, that's harder. So
Honestly, I'm going to blame a little bit of feminism here, because feminism is what told them to choose their careers over marriage. But the issue I have with that is, look at what it's doing to the community. Look at what single parent households are causing to the community. You know, look at what it does to the kids. Because at the end of the day, now in her situation, she has no kids. But majority of women who are in her situation, who choose careers over marriage, over a family of mom and dad in the household, and they have babies, usually the kids get to suffer. So you can choose. So in her, you know, I'll give her some grace. She chose a career over marriage and she has no babies. So that's good. You know, she can only suffer the consequences by herself. But so many other people have kids and then the kids get to suffer the consequences of their decisions.
but I had to go for what I know, right? And I took the job in Philly and then that dissolved. And I remember I was really, really sad. But he ended up moving on. But I share this story because some would say this is like 20 years ago. And it's like, okay, 20 years later, you're still not married.
Yep.
You're still not a wife.
Yep.
Would you make that same like bet? Would you make the same decision?
And I'll say you would.
Absolutely, I would. I would have made it a day earlier because I had to choose me. Like, I am not going to suppress who I am just to be somebody's wife. Like you asked.
You know, and I'm glad she did choose her. You know why? Because she's selfish. Because it would have been worse if she had actually accepted to marry that guy, to start a family that with that guy, and then divorce his ass along the way because she's choosing herself. Because that's an excuse so many women who file for divorce use. I'm choosing myself. I'm not happy. I'm not happy, so I'm gonna divorce you and go on my own so I can be happy. Because marriage is not really just about happiness, because remember, it's about other people. You have your husband, obviously, and if the kids come into the picture, it's beyond just about you. So I'm glad she made the choice, because she could have messed up the guy's life by divorcing him.
Asked me outside, you said, am I somebody's wife? I said, I don't know, and I'm okay with that. Like, if I don't get married, it will not.
No, tell them how that conversation came up.
Because he writing letters to ghosts. Because Latiris be writing letters to ghost child. Now, I thought we stopped having imaginary friends when we was in kindergarten, but now Latiris, he said, I'm about to write the letter to my invisible wife. I said, your wife?
I did not say
okay,
invisible.
he said to his wife, I said, the invisible woman you ain't never. Personally, I don't think Latiris want to be nobody's husband, but I think we might get to that part in the podcast. And I said, you writing letters to everybody know this woman but you. You done sat here, you've been around this world, around all these sensational women. He ain't trying to be nobody's husband, child. But
I told her
that's my own theory.
I said she is not imaginary. She's a real person.
Yeah, everybody know but you. How everybody know your wife but you?
Because if we meet each other and it aligns and we say I do, then she became my wife. So she wouldn't be imaginary no more, would she?
Okay, this is your interview, so I'm gonna respect that.
No, talk.
Okay, but I have a question for you.
Have a conversation.
What are you looking for? Because most people don't have the opportunity that you have. You have the opportunity to associate with so many women, right? Which I really feel like is your disadvantage, because we're having so many choices. It's like you're trying to make this perfect person. It's like, ooh, I like her. She speaks well. Ooh, but I like her because she fine. Ooh, I like her. Her hair real. Ooh, I like her. She go to church the most. So you got 5 different pieces of a woman, and you're trying to make it that one. So it's like, to me, I think your challenge is, focusing on one woman only and rocking out life with her when you have so many options. And I feel like that's the disadvantage. That's
a disadvantage most women have too, because one time a girl showed me her inbox and she had 500 messages from 500 different guys. Now I can guarantee you there were some guys who were short, there were some guys who were tall, some guys who had money, some guys who didn't have money, some guys who were in shape, some guys who were not in shape, some guys who were charismatic, some guys who were not. Because in 500 people, if you are the boyfriend or if you're one of the guys she's talking to, chances are it's not going to work out, because as soon as you do something she doesn't like, she's probably going to go in her inbox, choose a photo she likes, and then message that guy and then link up with that guy. So I can see where Kendra is coming from, saying this guy, the host of this podcast that meets so many women and is struggling. But at the end of the day, most men, they might meet the women, but doesn't mean they actually interact with those women or approach, which for women, they usually have the men approach them. So still, they actually have real options. The men as men, unless you're like a Drake, like a big celebrity where women can slide in your DMs, most of us guys, even if you might be social, you still have to approach those women. So still, he kind of has an advantage, but not really, because he still has to approach those women.
That's your challenge.
So my challenge is this. My challenge is, well, thank you for your assessment. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Kendra G. I'm not a person that gets caught up on quantity. And so it's because I go to these events, host these events everywhere. I go to my hotel and by myself. I don't get caught up on quantity. Matter of fact, I look for quality. I literally look back and say, God, these letters that I've written is literally a blueprint to what I desire. So when I meet a woman, it don't take a long time for me to assess and discern if that's my wife or not. I liken it to an episode I did one day, and I was interviewing this lady named Siobhan and her husband Cheyenne. Mm-hmm. And while she was talking, tears started streaming down my face. And this was about a couple of years ago, because God revealed to me the sound of a wife. This is this other man's wife sitting right there, and they're talking, but I started crying. She said, why are you crying? I said, I I can't compromise having a woman of God. And then she said, you don't have to. What's wrong? Because in my mind, in that season, I said, maybe what I desire, I'm looking for too much. And too much was it was basic. It was just literally, I want a woman that has the heart posture of God. A woman that when I'm in my moments of weariness, when I'm in these moments where I'm trying to figure out the next move, that she'll be able to put her hand on my shoulder and say, babe, you got this, and begin to pray for me.
And I think that's the minimum of what most guys are looking for. But because, just like Kendra did, she wanted to, she wasn't happy. She wanted to be herself, so she left a good man. And that's why men like him, they are scared of things like that. So I can guarantee when he listens to Kendra's G's story of where she had a good man, but she left him because she wanted to choose a career, he's scared of meeting a woman and then she gets to leave him because of whatever dumb reason. So for him wanting a woman of God, I think most men who want women of God, they are hoping that the woman understands what God says about marriage, number one, but number two, that their faith in God will build their loyalty in the marriage, where it's so easy these days to file for divorce. Because you know how they say people get married in church in front of God and the pastor and every other person, but when it comes to divorce, there is no God in the divorce court, in the family court or divorce court. So she may be a woman of God, but as soon as she doesn't like something, she's gonna file for divorce, and there's definitely God is not coming down to save you. She wants to leave, and I think that's why he's struggling. But for me, I would say go to church. But even then, it's not guaranteed that when she's not happy, she won't file for divorce. Anyway, man, shout out to this gentleman right here. His podcast is Dear Future Wifey. I'll link down below the full conversation with Kendra G. I just wanted to react to that Kendra G segment.